The floating world of Xiran Prime shone like a silver star against the dark curve of space. Thousands of lights glowed across its wide platforms, and transparent walkways stretched between tall, crystalline towers that hummed with quiet energy. Ships from dozens of civilizations hovered above the surface, their shapes strange and beautiful, each carrying delegates to the annual bonding accord, a gathering meant to strengthen peace through partnership, trust, and shared futures. For many species, this event was more than diplomacy. It was a chance to build alliances that could last generations. Political leaders formed agreements, scientists exchanged ideas, and some individuals sought personal bonds that symbolized unity between cultures. Lyra stood near the edge of the Great Hall, watching as others moved confidently around her. Her people, the Etherians, were known throughout the galaxy for their radiant appearance. Their skin shimmered like polished metal, and faint light flowed across their bodies in patterns that reflected emotional and psychic strength. The brighter the glow, the more respected the individual. Lyra's glow was soft and faint, almost easy to miss in the brilliant crowd. She had arrived early, hoping that standing quietly might help calm her nerves. It had been years since she last attended such a gathering. Each time she told herself that this one would be different. Each time she left feeling smaller than before. Around her, Etherian delegates shone like living stars. Their voices were confident, their movements graceful. Suitors approached them quickly, offering gifts or speaking with admiration. No one approached Lyra. She told herself she did not mind. She told herself she had grown used to it, but the truth pressed gently against her thoughts like a quiet ache. Across the hall, a group of tall insect-like beings bowed to an Etherian woman whose glow filled the air with golden light. Nearby, a reptilian diplomat laughed loudly as he sealed a trade agreement. Every moment felt filled with purpose. Lyra tried to focus on the beauty of the gathering instead of her own isolation. The ceiling above was transparent, revealing stars drifting slowly as the platform rotated. Music played softly, produced by instruments that hovered in the air. The scent of unfamiliar flowers drifted through the room. She watched as partnerships formed one after another. Each time two individuals agreed to bond, lights along the walls shifted color in celebration. Applause followed. Smiles spread through the crowd. Each time, Lyra felt herself fade further into the background. She overheard whispers as people passed. Her aura is weak. Is she untrained? No, I heard she simply lacks strength. She would not bring advantage. The words were quiet but sharp. Lyra lowered her eyes. She knew they were not trying to be cruel. In Etherian culture, power and compatibility were practical concerns. Choosing a weak partner was considered unwise. Still, hearing it spoken aloud made her chest tighten. She turned away from the center of the room and moved closer to a balcony overlooking the stars. From there she could watch without being watched. A new group entered the hall and a murmur of curiosity spread. Humans, they were still new to the galactic unity. Few species fully understood them. Some found them fascinating, others viewed them as unpredictable. Lyra had read about them before. A young species, lacking psychic abilities. Their technology was efficient but lacked the elegance of older civilizations. Their strength was not obvious, yet they had gained attention quickly by forming strong alliances and showing unusual persistence. The human delegation wore simple clothing compared to the elaborate attire of other species. They moved with quiet confidence, observing everything carefully. One of them stood slightly apart from the others. He was taller than some, shorter than many. His hair was dark and his expression calm. He watched the room not with ambition but with curiosity. Captain Elias Rowan. Lyra did not know his name yet, but she noticed the way he looked at people. He did not measure them with quick judgment. He simply observed. At one moment his gaze passed over her. Unlike others, he did not immediately look away. There was no pity in his expression, no comparison, just acknowledgement. The simple act felt strange and unexpected. Lyra looked away quickly, unsure how to respond. Time passed. The ceremony continued. One by one, partnerships formed. Representatives announced alliances. Laughter and conversation filled the air. Lyra remained alone. The final bell approached, a soft chime that signaled the closing of formal selections. Once it rang, those without partners would leave quietly. Their chance passed until the next gathering years later. Her glow dimmed further, reflecting her thoughts. She told herself it did not matter. She had come knowing the outcome was likely. But standing there while others celebrated felt heavier than she had prepared for. The bell rang. Its sound echoed gently through the hall. Applause followed for those who had formed bonds. Light patterns across the walls shifted into warm colors of completion. Delegates began to disperse. Lyra felt the familiar urge to leave quickly, to avoid being noticed as one of the few left behind. She took a step toward the exit, then paused. Across the room, the human captain still stood alone. He spoke quietly with another delegate, nodding politely, but he did not appear to have formed any partnership either. For a moment she watched him. Something in her stirred. Not hope exactly, more like a question. Throughout the ceremony, he had watched others without judgment. He had smiled at moments others ignored. When someone spoke to him, he listened fully. He seemed different. Her heart began to beat faster. She told herself not to be foolish. Humans had little status within the galactic unity. Approaching him might seem desperate. But then another thought rose within her. What did she have to lose? She had already been overlooked by everyone else. Before she could change her mind, she turned and walked toward him. Each step felt heavy, yet strangely steady. Conversation slowed as some noticed her movement. Etherians approaching humans after rejection was rare. The human captain turned as she stopped in front of him. Up close, she saw lines of experience in his eyes, a calm strength that did not depend on physical power. He waited quietly, giving her space to speak. Her voice trembled slightly as she began. "No one wishes to stand beside me," she said softly, "but you looked at me as if I was not broken." The surrounding crowd grew silent. The words felt too honest, yet she could not take them back. He studied her gently, as though trying to understand more than just her words. She took a slow breath. "Will you be my husband?" she asked. Gasps echoed across the hall. The question was bold, unexpected, almost unthinkable. Etherian proposals were usually formal, strategic, carefully arranged. This was different. This was vulnerable. The human did not answer immediately. He did not laugh or show surprise in a way that made her feel small. Instead, he looked thoughtful. Lyra felt heat rise beneath her skin as doubt flooded her mind. Had she made a mistake? Was she embarrassing herself again? Around them, whispers spread quickly. "A human? She has no better option. This is beneath Etherian dignity." Lyra tried to ignore the voices, focusing only on the man in front of her. Finally, he spoke. "Why me?" he asked quietly. The question held no mockery, only genuine curiosity. She swallowed, choosing her words carefully. "Because you did not look at me as if I had already failed." He seemed to consider that deeply. The silence stretched long enough to make her heart ache. Then he asked another question. "If I say yes," he said slowly, "will you stand beside me as an equal?" The word surprised her. Equality was not always emphasized in Etherian bonds where strength often defined roles. "Yes," she answered immediately. Her glow flickered slightly brighter as if responding to her certainty. He nodded once. "Then yes," he said. Shock rippled through the room like a wave. Some delegates stared openly. Others whispered rapidly into communication devices. The unexpected pairing between an overlooked Etherian and a human captain challenged many assumptions at once. Lyra felt both relief and fear rush through her. She had not expected acceptance. She had prepared herself for rejection, for another quiet moment of embarrassment. Instead, everything had changed. Captain Rowan extended his hand in a simple human gesture. She hesitated for only a moment before placing her hand in his. His grip was warm, steady. For the first time that day, she felt seen. As they stood together, the hall seemed different. The lights reflected differently across her skin. Her glow, though still soft, felt steadier. Across the room, some Etherian elders watched with expressions difficult to read. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, Lyra did not feel invisible. And somewhere deep within her, a quiet sense of possibility began to grow, not because she had found someone powerful, but because someone had chosen her without measuring her worth against impossible standards. The annual bonding accord would be remembered for many alliances. But none would be spoken of more than the moment when the one wanted turned to a human and asked for something simple, brave, and honest. And the human said yes. The silence that followed their decision did not fade quickly. Even after the announcement protocols completed and the lights shifted to acknowledge their bond, the air around Lyra and Captain Rowan felt charged with unspoken questions. Some delegates watched with open curiosity. Others turned away, whispering behind raised hands. The idea of an Etherian choosing a human, and a human accepting without hesitation, unsettled many assumptions that had existed for generations. Lyra felt every gaze like a weight pressing against her shoulders. She had expected rejection, perhaps gentle refusal. She had not expected to stand at the center of attention. Captain Rowan, however, seemed unaffected by the whispers. He remained calm, his posture relaxed but firm, as if he had already accepted whatever consequences might come. "Are you all right?" he asked quietly. His voice grounded her. She nodded, though uncertainty still moved within her thoughts. "I believe so," she answered. They began walking toward the outer hall together. The path opened slowly as delegates stepped aside, some offering polite bows, others only watching silently. An Etherian elder approached them before they reached the exit. His glow was bright and sharp, a sign of strong psychic ability and high status. "Lyra," he said, his voice controlled but firm. "You understand the significance of your action?" She straightened slightly. "Yes, Elder. You have bound yourself to a species whose position within the galactic unity is still uncertain." Captain Rowan listened quietly, allowing the exchange to remain between them. Lyra hesitated only a moment. "I have chosen with intention." The elder studied her carefully, his gaze shifting briefly toward the human captain. "Humans are unpredictable," he said. "Your decision may carry consequences for our people." Rowan spoke gently, without challenge. "We are still learning, too." The elder paused, perhaps surprised by the lack of defensiveness. Finally, he inclined his head slightly. "Then we will observe," he said before stepping away. As they continued walking, Lyra felt tension slowly leave her body. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" Rowan asked. "For answering calmly. Many would have felt insulted." He smiled faintly. "Humans get used to being underestimated." They left the main hall together and entered a quieter corridor lined with soft lights. Through transparent walls, stars stretched endlessly beyond. Lyra released a slow breath. "I did not expect you to accept," she admitted. "I know," he replied. "Why did you?" He considered the question carefully. "You asked honestly," he said. "And you didn't look at me like I was a tool or an advantage. That's rare in places like this." She absorbed his words quietly. "I hope I have not caused difficulty for you," she said. "Maybe," he answered lightly. "But humans are good at adapting." They reached a balcony overlooking the floating city below. Small transport ships moved like drifting lights. Music from distant celebrations echoed faintly. Lyra watched the horizon, unsure what came next. The following days passed quickly. The news of their bond spread across the summit faster than any official announcement. Some species expressed fascination with humanity's willingness to accept those others overlooked. Others quietly criticized the decision. Human delegates welcomed Lyra warmly. They asked respectful questions about her culture and abilities without judgment. For the first time, she felt curiosity directed at her without comparison. She spent time learning about Earth, its history of conflict and cooperation, its diverse cultures, its ability to adapt despite lacking psychic gifts. Rowan introduced her to human customs slowly, explaining things patiently. "What happens after this?" she asked one evening as they watched ships depart from Xiran Prime. "We return to Earth," he said, "if you're ready." The idea filled her with both excitement and fear. She had never left Etherian territory for long periods before. "Yes," she said quietly. Their journey began aboard a human exploration vessel. Unlike many alien ships she had seen, the interior felt practical rather than decorative. Walls were smooth but simple. Lights were warm instead of bright. Crew members greeted her with genuine smiles. Some appeared nervous, unsure how to interact with an alien bonded to their captain, but none treated her with disrespect. During the first days of travel, Lyra struggled with uncertainty. Without the constant psychic background of Etherian society, the silence in her mind felt strange. At first she worried something was wrong, but gradually she realized the quietness was peaceful. Her thoughts felt clearer. The pressure she had always carried, subtle competition from stronger minds, was gone. One evening, while sitting in a common area, she noticed her glow reflecting more strongly against a nearby surface. She stared in surprise. It was brighter, not dramatically but noticeably. She raised her hand, watching the soft light pulse gently. Rowan approached, noticing her expression. "Something changed?" he asked. "My glow," she said. "It is stronger." He tilted his head. "Is that good?" "Yes, but unexpected." She closed her eyes briefly, focusing inward. Her psychic senses felt stable, calm, and balanced. "I feel lighter," she whispered. As the days passed, the change continued. Her glow strengthened steadily. Crew members noticed too, though they rarely commented directly. Human scientists aboard the ship became curious. With her permission, they conducted gentle scans, trying to understand the shift. Their conclusion surprised everyone. Without strong psychic competition around her, her abilities were no longer suppressed. Etherian society unintentionally created constant pressure through comparison and expectation. Among humans, free from that environment, her natural resonance stabilized. She was not weak. She had simply been surrounded by overwhelming signals. The realization shook her deeply. One night she sat alone in observation room, staring at the stars. Rowan joined her quietly. "I thought something was wrong with me," she said. He sat beside her without interrupting. "All my life I believed I lacked what others had, that I was less. And now?" She watched her reflection in the glass, her glow steady and warm. "Now I think I was only different," he nodded. "Humans know that feeling." They shared a quiet moment. As their ship approached Earth, news of their arrival spread through both human and alien networks. Some celebrated the symbol of unity. Others watched with skepticism, waiting for failure. Earth appeared slowly in the distance, blue, vibrant, alive. Lyra felt awe as she saw oceans stretching across the surface, clouds moving in slow patterns. "It is beautiful," she said softly. "Home tends to feel that way," Rowan replied. Upon arrival, she experienced new sensations everywhere, the sounds of cities, the diversity of people, the energy of a world filled with billions of lives. Humans greeted her with curiosity but also warmth. Unlike the summit, no one measured her glow against others. Many did not even understand its significance. They spoke to her as an individual, not as a ranking. She began working with human researchers, sharing knowledge of Etherian communication methods while learning about human technology. Together, they discovered new ways to integrate psychic resonance with digital systems, improving long-distance communication. Her confidence grew with every success. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, observers took note. The weak Etherian was becoming stronger, and humanity, once dismissed as insignificant, was gaining influence through cooperation rather than dominance. One evening, after a long day of work, Lyra stood beside Rowan on a hillside overlooking a human city glowing beneath the night sky. "I think I understand now," she said. "What?" he asked. "Why you accepted me?" He smiled slightly. "Tell me." "You saw someone others ignored," she said, "and you did not assume they lacked value." He considered that. "Maybe," he said, "or maybe humans just like giving people a chance to show who they really are." She watched the city lights, feeling a quiet sense of belonging growing within her. For the first time in her life, she did not feel like the one no one wanted. She felt like someone becoming who she was meant to be. Life on Earth settled into a steady rhythm, yet nothing about it ever felt ordinary to Lyra. Every day brought something new, new sounds, new customs, new emotions that humans expressed openly without fear of judgment. The planet felt alive in a way she had never experienced before. Even the air seemed different, carrying sense of nature and movement that reminded her she was no longer surrounded by silent expectations. Her glow had grown stronger since arriving. It was no longer faint or uncertain. Instead, it flowed gently across her skin like soft moonlight, steady and warm. Human researchers often observed her abilities with fascination, but they never treated her like an experiment. They asked questions respectfully and listened carefully when she spoke. Captain Rowan remained at her side through it all. Their bond had grown naturally, not forced by politics or cultural pressure, but strengthened through shared experiences. He introduced her to human traditions slowly, allowing her to discover what she enjoyed rather than overwhelming her with too much at once. Despite the peace she found on Earth, the galaxy did not remain quiet. News arrived one morning that changed everything. An emergency signal echoed through galactic unity channels, urgent and filled with concern. A massive stellar anomaly had formed near Etherian space. Entire star systems experienced unstable energy waves, disrupting travel routes and threatening colonies. The Etherian High Council issued a call for assistance. Many powerful empires responded, eager to demonstrate their strength. Fleets gathered, scientists debated, and advanced technologies were deployed in attempts to stabilize the anomaly. Nothing worked. The disturbance continued to grow, its energy shifting unpredictably. Ships that approached too closely lost navigation systems. Psychic communication networks faltered, leaving entire regions isolated. Lyra listened to the reports in silence, her thoughts heavy. Her people were struggling. She had not returned since leaving Xiren Prime, though she had found acceptance on Earth, a part of her still felt connected to her origin. Rowan noticed her concern immediately. "You want to help," he said gently. "Yes," she admitted. "But I do not know if I can." He leaned against the console beside her. "Then we find out together." Soon after, an unexpected message arrived. The Etherian High Council requested Earth's assistance. The decision surprised many across the galaxy. Humans were still considered a developing power compared to ancient civilizations. Asking them for help revealed desperation. Some critics argued that humanity should refuse, reminding others how Etherian elders had doubted Lyra's bond with Rowan. Human leadership chose differently. They agreed to help without conditions. Preparations began quickly. A human response fleet assembled, combining engineering ships, research vessels, and support craft. Rowan was chosen to lead the mission, not only because of his experience, but because of his connection with Lyra. As they departed Earth, Lyra stood at the observation window, watching her new home grow smaller behind them. She felt a mixture of fear and determination. "What if I fail?" she asked quietly. Rowan answered without hesitation. "Then we try something else. That's how humans survive." The journey toward the anomaly took several days. During travel, scientists reviewed all available data. Energy readings showed patterns that traditional approaches had failed to address. Most civilizations had attempted to overpower the anomaly using massive force or intense psychic projection. Lyra studied the data carefully. Something about the energy felt familiar, chaotic, but not entirely random. When they arrived, the sight stunned everyone aboard. A vast storm of light twisted through space like a living creature. Streams of energy moved unpredictably, distorting nearby stars and creating waves that rippled across the surrounding region. Etherian fleets hovered at a distance, their ships glowing with psychic energy. Despite their efforts, exhaustion filled their ranks. Lyra felt the pressure immediately as she stepped onto a shared communication platform. The psychic background returned, stronger than she remembered. Multiple powerful minds pressed against the network, each trying to control the situation. For a moment, her confidence faltered. But then she remembered the calm she had learned on Earth. She focused inward, letting her thoughts remain steady rather than competing with others. Etherian elders greeted her formally. Some looked surprised at her stronger glow. Others watched with cautious curiosity. "You have changed," one elder said. "I have grown," she answered simply. Human engineers began analyzing the anomaly from a different perspective. Instead of trying to force stability, they studied the rhythm of its energy. Patterns emerged, cycles of expansion and contraction, almost like breathing. Lyra sensed it too. "It is not resisting," she said slowly during one meeting. "It is reacting." "To what?" a scientist asked. "To pressure." The idea shifted their approach. Rather than overwhelming the anomaly, they designed stabilizing relay structures that moved with its rhythm. Human adaptability allowed rapid adjustments as new data appeared. Lyra worked closely with engineers, using her resonance to guide calibration. Her ability, once considered weak, proved uniquely suited to gentle interaction rather than forceful control. The first relay activated carefully. Energy waves slowed. The storm's movement shifted slightly, becoming less chaotic. Hope spread through the fleet. Over several intense days, more relays were deployed. Each required precise coordination between human technology and Lyra's psychic guidance. There were moments of failure. One relay collapsed, forcing quick evacuation. Another produced unstable feedback that nearly damaged nearby ships. Through it all, Rowan remained calm, encouraging teamwork instead of blame. "You're doing well," he told Lyra during a quiet moment between deployments. "I am only doing what feels natural," she said. "That's usually when people do their best." Finally, the last relay activated. A deep vibration passed through space as the anomaly stabilized. The swirling storm softened, its violent motion slowing into gentle waves before gradually dispersing. Silence followed the quiet relief of success. Cheers echoed across communication channels. Ships powered down emergency systems. Psychic networks reconnected, restoring communication across the region. Lyra stood motionless, overwhelmed by emotion. She had helped save her people. An Etherian elder approached her after the mission concluded. His glow softened, no longer sharp with judgment. "We misjudged you," he said. "Your strength was never absence, it was balance." She bowed slightly. "I learned that from humanity." A new summit was called to celebrate the success. Delegates gathered once more in a grand hall, though this time the atmosphere felt different. Humanity received recognition not for power, but for cooperation and creativity. Lyra stood beside Rowan as equal partner, her glow steady and bright. Conversations that once excluded her now welcomed her voice. An elder addressed Rowan publicly. "Why did you accept her when no advantage was visible?" he asked. Rowan answered simply. "Humans don't measure worth by shine, we measure it by heart." The words spread across the chamber, leaving a lasting impression. The story of the overlooked Etherian and the human who chose her became a symbol throughout the galaxy. Lyra no longer felt invisible. She had found a place where she could grow, not by competing with others, but by becoming fully herself. And as she stood beside the human who had believed in her from the beginning, she realized that strength was not about being the brightest star. It was about helping others shine.